Assalamu alaikum everyone. So today we are going to be looking at how we can communicate our corporate objectives to the employees. Now communication of objective is very important to the business. If the employees don't know what their aim is, why do they work for, what is they need a sense of direction. So that's why objectives are there. That's the importance of objectives that we've discussed earlier, that it is to give the sense of a sense of direction to the employees. But there's no point in setting up objectives if you can't communicate them to the employees effectively. Hence, it is very important to communicate your corporate objectives effectively to the employees. So let's look at some ways of how we can communicate these objectives to the employees. So there are various ways in which objectives can be effectively communicated to the workforce, such as meetings, briefing, website, and internet. The objectives could be conveyed in form of internal business advertisement, such as posters or notice boards, so workers passing by can see it. However, not everyone pays attention, and no actual explanation is given in the posters. The basic idea behind this point is that when we can one way of conveying the corporate objectives to the employees is by advertisements in notice boards. Generally businesses have the notice boards where workers can pass by, they see okay what's going on in the business, if there's some important news or not. So it could be useful in some businesses where people actually see that, but generally many employees don't pay that much attention. Either they are not interested or they have some other work, so because of that they might miss on this point, and they might not be able to read about the objective, the basic, and if there's and generally there's not much actual explanation that is given in the posters. It's just about what the objective is, so they also need some explanation for that objective. So generally that's not a good way of advertisement, but yeah, you can do it somewhat if you can explain it in some other way, and just give some spoiler or something like that to excite the employees, you can say, or like say okay we are gonna be having a meeting like that, and before the meeting you can do that, but generally it's not too effective. An overall meeting involving all workers in the company could be organized so that the general manager can explain the objectives to the workers. However, the time could be an opportunity cost as sales are temporarily stopped during the meeting. So the idea behind this point is that of course that you have to set up an overall meeting, so involving all workers in the company, which can be organized so that general manager can explain the objectives to the workers. So like yeah, as I said an earlier point, that you could, instead of like posting the whole explanation for that, you can just say okay we are going to have some so and so meeting of that, and this is our objective, that's the main idea, so look forward to that. And in the meeting you actually explain what's going on. Yes, the disadvantage of meeting is that time is lost, and it's not too easy to gather up all the workers at one place, but it could be done in times when they're off seasons, maybe, or in holidays times. But yeah, employees sometimes not too good with these meetings in holidays, but I don't think, but generally they are not too long meeting, not sometimes like not frequent weekend, it's just a sort of once every 6 months or once every year, you can say. So employees won't have that much won't criticize this meeting if it's being held in holidays. But if it can't be held in holidays or off season, then that becomes an issue because your sales are being get temporarily stopped during the meeting. Now, moving on, induction training can be given to new employees to get them used to the working conditions, boost productivity, and convey the objectives of the business. However, it is expensive and only applicable for new employees. Now, induction training is something that we generally discuss in the chapter of motivation in HRM. One of the functions of human resource management is the training of employees. The induction training is basically training provided to new employees to get them used to the business, to the basic working conditions of the business, how the system works, to show them different machinery, different production methods, and get them used to that. So when you are giving induction training, you can also convey the objectives of the business. So that time will be a very great time for that, but it's only applicable for new employees. You have to think of ways, if you for example, as we discussed in earlier video about changing objectives, what if you change your objectives? How are you gonna convey your objectives to the existing employees? In this way, you can only convey the objectives to the new employees, not to the existing ones. So you have to use some other method. You have to use it along with some other method, and it's also expensive at times. Induction training is not too easy because the one who is training at that particular point has to leave his work, and that's pretty not too good for. And the one who's providing training is supposed to be an expert or someone who's very good at a greater management level. So the work that's being temporarily stopped is also can also be risky, like not too good for the business overall. Now, a management meeting can be organized where the corporate objectives are explained to the heads or managers of each individual department so they can communicate those objectives to their subordinates, which saves time and cost. However, the objectives must be explained effectively so there is no misunderstanding by any manager, as it might lead to further misunderstanding of the subordinates of that manager. Now, this is one of the most effective way of communicating your objectives to the business. That the one that I found the most effective, at least, that instead of holding a meeting with all the employees, all the members of the all the workforce, you first held a meeting with the heads, the managers, the departmental heads, you can say, and then the departmental heads have a meeting with their respective department, to explain that. You have two meetings, not just one, like two hierarchy system, you can say. So in that way, you can save time. It's not like all work is being halted. No, the work is still going on somewhat, and the cost is also reduced because you don't have to gather all the workers, everyone at one point. You can just do it at multiple places, and this is a lot beneficial for large multinational businesses which have their offices located in different areas, not just one country, like multiple countries as well. So that's very effective in that. However, of course, the objectives should be explained carefully, as I said written earlier, that it can't be misunderstood. You have to be like very rigid in your explanation. You can't miss out something, and you should clear any misunderstanding that they have, because if there's even a small misunderstanding by any particular manager, then that leads to a further misunderstanding of the subordinates, and that could lead to a great loss if not worked accordingly. So finally, the last method we have is objectives could be conveyed and explained in the company's website if available through the internet. Therefore, all workers can access it, and adding explanatory videos on the website could make it more lively for workers. Now, this is the most modern method, you can say, for conveying objectives. Now that we have the power of social media, we have internet. So a company website, if the company has a website on the internet, then objectives could be conveyed over there as well. They can have a team page maybe, and then workers can assess it. Workers could be asked to, okay, look at this particular video where a manager explains the objectives of the business to the whole workforce. So like everyone can watch the video at their own pace. It could make it more lively for workers as well, instead of just plain written text on the website. But it could be a little disadvantages that not all businesses have the websites, and even if they do, not the workers should be like trained. Workers should also be educated enough to like understand that video, understand how workers should know how to use website, especially in our country, like because we have a lot of illiterate workforce. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. The video should be very explanatory, so recording the video could take time, but I do that's not much of a big issue. So both of these methods are the most suitable ones. The previous ones are just in our syllabus, so we have to went through that as well. So that's all about communicating objectives to the employees.